yeah. There was sound there.
I didn't even get to put on my headset, and Odie was already here first.
I know. That's what.
Ooh, intro.
I did that on Odie's stream the other day. I jumped in there. I yelled first.
Yes, it is new.
Yes, it is new, Odie. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Happy Saturday. Welcome to Sober Mind. My name is John.
I am Judy.
And I'm Patrick. I'm stuffing my face.
And mid-drink.
Welcome to Sober Mind, where we have grown folk conversations about our mental health and sobriety, and the shit gets pretty deep sometimes.
Yes.
I would like to go ahead and kick it off, and we're going to jump into gratitude. Also, I want to invite the folks on the chat to also throw their gratitude in there if they would so desire.
I'll start.
Go. Go, Judy.
Okay. So I just want to say I am grateful for the little things. I was making bread the other day in my bread machine. I haven't used it for a while, and I thought, well, you know what? Hell, let me make some bread. I make some garlic bread. I ended up making 3 loaves of bread because the first 2 were jacked up. Actually, 4 loaves because I threw one away before I even baked it. But by the time I got to the 4th one, it turned out perfect. And I was so grateful for this perfect loaf of bread. I thought, oh my gosh. It's really nice to be grateful for the little things in my life. It's really, really... I don't think that I would be able to experience the joy and the gratitude and the deep sense of yes, I finally did it, if I had not been sober. If I was high, I would never be able to experience those deep emotions. Everything would be on the surface and extremely numb.
Yeah. Good.
But yeah, very grateful for the little things.
I noticed you were very patient during that process too.
I did not throw my bread machine across the room. It was, which I probably felt like I would have before. Yeah.
It's delicious bread too.
Yeah, it turned out really good.
All right. Thank you, babe. Patrick, do you want to go? Or do you want me to?
I can go real quick. Mine's rather short, you know. If you got issues, I feel bad for you, son, but being drunk, I got 99 problems, but being drunk ain't one for me. I mean, it's a general gratitude. You know, holidays are holidays full of emotion and family, and like I'm working through my own things, and I'm just grateful that I'm not overcomplicating it with like the alcohol in the mix.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I've been grateful for that too lately. It's felt good. We talked about that last week. It's nice to be able to just go through life without being drunk. Ozzy,
he's coming in whether we like it or not.
Yeah, he's coming through. He doesn't care.
What's your coffee,
no
bud?
lap time, bud.
All right, I'll jump into my gratitude. This one's going to get a little deep, so I apologize in advance, Patrick. I didn't warn you. Odie says, I'm grateful I met wonderful people through a Mass Effect community I run, where I met Patrick, and through Patrick, the 2 of you in this channel. I'm grateful that I have the best mom too. Nice, Odie. Thank you. I was thinking about that today. It's nice, the internet and social media. It's a double-edged sword. You know, I love to hate it sometimes. But at the end of the day, man, the internet has brought us some amazing technology. Look what we're able to do. We're able to broadcast a news show from our basement and have a someone in Serbia that's able to communicate with us on the air real time. It's crazy technology.
And on the other side of the coin is people are able to broadcast from their basement.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, on the flip side. So there you go.
On the flip side, yeah.
Yeah, the serendipity of things is rather nice, and it makes me grateful for, you know, I talk about cultivating our little gardens of, you know, things that we can contribute to and safe spaces where we can grow and collaborate together. You know, it never in a million years would I said, yeah, the Mass Effect community and like an endeavor like this would totally, make sense to me going hand in hand. But
It would totally click.
They have been very supportive, of this, and
Yeah.
I met Odie through there, and it's been great.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. We are very grateful for that too.
Very grateful. That is Odie N7 on Twitch. Odie N7. I jumped on there. He promotes our channel.
Mm-hmm.
There was a bunch of people that made a bunch of comments on there too about the benefits of mental health. Okay. My gratitude is this. I made a short about my youthful experience, and I've talked about it before, and I'll never forget when I was 12 years old. My mother grabbed me by my ears and pulled me in real close and literally spit in my face and said how much she hated me and wished I was never born. That statement resonates still to this day. I've done a lot of work on myself, but I'll never forget that moment. People always say should just try to forget about stuff. I really wish I could. A lot of crazy shit has happened in my life. Military, other child abuse events, life events in general, but that one, it pops its head up once in a while. That moment changed my makeup of who I am today. That was a interesting moment. But where I'm going with the gratitude portion of that is I'm thankful for the man that I've become and the journey that I continue to go through. And it's nice to be able to have started this whole project. And Patrick, you came into our lives, and we all get to witness our regrowth of things. Mm-hmm. It's nice. But yeah,
Our maturation.
yeah, I've come a long way, so I feel good.
Proud of you, man.
Thank you. That's my gratitude.
It's funny that you say that, because when you said that, I just thought of an episode in my life where that happened. Where my mom, she never said that she wished I was never born. That never came up. What she did say was that don't make me choose between my husband and you, because you may not like the choice.
I remember that. Those are hurtful things.
And that was one of those times where I was like, okay. And then what kicked in for me was the fact that, okay, well, now I feel like I need to take care of myself. I have to be a grown up now because I don't have that support. So now I have to do it on my own. So at that point, I think I was 9 when that happened. But
Sorry.
yeah, I can completely relate to that. Not in the depth and extremity that you had, but
still, those words are so hurtful
makes
and
an impact.
impactful to children, especially. I don't know we've all studied some child psychology on some stuff, but I don't know which ages they're consciously versus subconsciously super impactful. But I think around the prepubescent time, that shit is, that fucked up the rest of my youth, my high school. My self-esteem evaporated from that moment on, and it's really tough to recover from. So it's refreshing, and I really get a kick out of it. I think I catch myself staring creepily sometimes, Patrick, when I'm out with you and your family, and I'm observing you with your children.
you're so patient with your children.
You are. I know. I knew you were going to do that.
You're a saint with your children.
You are.
I don't know what kind of Norman Rockwell shit you guys are paying attention to.
But that's fine. Look, all things being equal, your kids have a mom and a dad that cares about them and isn't fucking yelling crazy shit at them all the time and giving them a little bit of structure. They're set up for success. So like in 10 years when Flynn's like, my childhood was so fucked up, bro, I'll be like, Flynn,
Don't even, man.
don't even. You had it pretty good. But anyway, all right. We wanted to talk about coping mechanisms, how we cope with
Trauma,
or just general
life
in general, how it all
Shit.
works. And we're tackling this from an alcoholic / drug user's perspective and point of view, and how our brains are wired and how we we generally create anxiety and a little bit of chaos inside of our worlds, and
Plus,
how it works.
how we deal being sober, how we deal with it in a sober manner instead of turning around and drinking or imbibing.
Yeah. So you want me to kick it off?
Kick it, brother.
Judy and I have an interesting dynamic with this because we sometimes help each other cope, but we also help each other or observe each other not coping.
Yes.
So what do I mean by that? That is, like, Judy and I had let's call it a spicy discussion the other day about something. It was yesterday. I kind of threw a fit about something, which I do once in a while. I don't do it nearly as often as I used to. But we do catch ourselves not communicating properly when that happens, because I think we're both stubborn, and our fight or flight reaction to having an argument is to just shut down and then separate. So we're working on that. But anymore, though, as soon as that happens to me, I feel immediately guilty, which I think is a good coping mechanism, because it helps, it stops me. It helps me do a little bit of refocusing and acknowledge that I'm being irrational. I'm being angry for no reason, and I need to figure out why that is. Adjust fire, and then go re-engage with Judy on stuff.
Which before that wouldn't happen.
No. When I was drinking, it would just, my brain didn't have the proper capacity to figure out how to articulate my emotions. So there, in a nutshell, that's how I cope with a lot of stuff, is I'm able to stop, evaluate, analyze, and then formulate a path from there. I'm not saying that, I see chaos happen, or chaos happens in my life. How do I cope with it? I don't just sit down like a fucking Zen Buddha and I'm like, oh, everything is fine. No, I have emotion. I have an emotional, visceral reaction sometimes to stuff, but I'm able to acknowledge that I need to cope.
Yes.
And sometimes good talk, Patrick.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then I realized the other day that sometimes my coping is maybe I get exhausted with my coping, and then I have a little bit of a breakdown. I've cried really hard. I yell in my pillow. I'll go for a run. I'll fucking punch leaves in the air outside. And I realized the other day that when I was going to talk about that example, that's how I don't cope. Then I realized that is a coping mechanism as well.
Those are built in from a very young age.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think from a sober perspective, being able to deal with those traumas that come into life is a lot easier. It's both hard and easy. It's hard because your initial reaction is, I want to go have a drink. I want to go smoke some pot. I want to get out of this situation. I don't want to have to deal with this situation. And it's really easy to just follow that lead, but it's never worth it. Never worth it. So you have to, deep down grab onto your bootstraps and just grit your teeth sometimes to push through it. But it is so worth it. And when you're able to move on past that issue in your life, or that whatever is bothering you, the trauma, whatever is in your life, and you're able to work through it, you always come out better on the other end.
Yep. You both are talking about awareness, and that's kind of early, when these emotions come up, we feel overwhelmed. Like they are you talked about your visceral reaction or just being in the moment, right? Like they are so powerful. It feels like this is it. Mm-hmm. I'm fucking angry. I'm going to be fucking angry for the rest of my life. I'm so fucking pissed off that this is me now. This is me now. See me? I'm going to be pissed off.
I'm anger.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. Like that's your identity. And when that was wrapped up in other emotions and that appeared and we didn't know how to deal with them showing up, of course we're like, oh, yeah, time to get the fuck out of here. You know, and booze was a wonderful answer to that. And, you know, same with other ill coping mechanisms. But the fact is that we needed to process that. Being the biggest one that I learned early is, whether you like it or not, if you're just white knuckling sobriety, at a point you'll get an inch or an urge, and your objective is just to not drink. That's your only objective, right? And and it may seem like the hardest thing to do, and for some people it is, because you know we talk about one day at a time. Well, some people need to hear 1 hour at a time or 1 minute at a time.
Yep.
But at the core of that is, this too shall pass. And that's what the coping mechanism, you know, you talk about being able to step away and reassess and evaluate and develop a strategy, or like finding a way to process that. Before, we had no space, no light between those actions. It was like, I'm fucking pissed off, booze, you know, or emotion, booze. And now we learn to grow that awareness in that little gap to be like, okay, I'm angry, or I'm feeling something that, you know, and that's part of that. You get down to the nitty gritty when before you didn't even realize you're angry, right? You were just like so there that you're just like, I can't process something. I need booze. And so as we begin to like peel that back, it sucks because you got to look inward. And when you to bring awareness to the situation, you're like, I feel guilty, or I have this weird tingling sensation, or like, you know, I find myself clenching my fists. Like you have to get into the detail of the state of your body.
Yeah.
Right. To just,
Yeah. You also have to ask yourself why.
that comes a little later for sure. And I think that's important to process. But, you know, for those early and to get to the why for the people is like for them to recognize there's something going on to begin with. And
Very true.
For, you know, when we were in the throes of alcoholism, we didn't even have that.
No.
So
I thought I was fine.
Yep.
I don't know about you two, but I was fine.
when you feel those emotions kind of well up, and you know the change of state, you start reading those cues and you begin to understand that, and then you can do, like, by raising awareness, either playing the tape forward and understanding how it was, but then you're also granted awareness of like, well, if my body changed from this state to this state, you know, now you get to play the detective work of, you know, what set that off. And I've said this before, it's hard early in sobriety, because by the time you realize you need a drink, those behaviors have been set off well before, you know, like maybe even hours before you're even at that point.
Yeah.
By raising the awareness and dealing with coping mechanisms, you can begin to like head those off a little sooner, because you're like, hey, I know this feeling in my body. It's making me uncomfortable and making me not want to be here. My heart rate is rising. Like I feel
My palms are sweaty.
My palms are sweaty. I feel guilty. I
Farm
feel
spaghetti.
I feel
Yeah.
shame. What?
Whoa. Hey, fam. Good morning. Hey, Maggie. I'm not gonna lie, fam. When you weren't here in the beginning, I was a little bummed because you're important to the show.
Morning, Mom.
You missed our intro. You're gonna have to see it next time.
The point is with coping mechanisms, this is what I think why the joke, just downward dog your way out. Because I ultimately think like the physical activity, you know, one of my good ones now is running and other physical activity. The act of crying something out, that's coping mechanism that we learned since we were like little,
Yeah.
is to like, you know, physically exhaust the body to process that. And that's a valid coping mechanism. But the fact of saying just downward dog your way out of it, you can't give you can't give somebody a cure if they don't know what they're treating.
Right.
Correct. Yes.
If somebody's just having a hard time, you say just go down and dog your way out of it. They're gonna be like, "What the fuck you? What are you asking me to do? Go sniff the carpet? I don't understand this."
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
I think once they realize that, once you realize that you have a problem, that starts that whole ball rolling in the other direction. Not necessarily right at that moment, but it does start to get you to look, okay, well, everything is not hunky dory.
yeah, that's Pandora's box. That's Prometheus's flame, right? Once that is given, I mean, that's kind of where you pulled back the veil. You know, when I started, that's like the first trip down sobriety. It may take years to get to the point of like actually staying away from the booze and giving it up, right? But there is a point you're like, wait, something's not right here.
Yeah,
And
either deep down and it's a little voice, it's a very tiny voice way down here, and it's saying, okay, this is not right. And you know, you're right. That's when everything starts to, Pandora's box gets open, and you're like,
you can't
Here
put it back
comes.
in.
Yeah. So I think for me, there's a lot of things that I use for coping. I use, people are going to cope with whatever tools that they have, whatever works best for them. But for me, I use, I try to use positive thinking. I use meditation. I use breathing exercises. I use distraction. And if the situation is completely uncomfortable for me, then I just leave if I can.
Yeah. Anchoring in this too shall pass.
Yes.
No matter how dark it gets, no matter how scary it gets, breathe.
Yeah.
Just breathe.
Yeah.
Like, and keep it simple.
Yep.
Yep.
That's the one that's helped me a lot, Patrick, 100%. And that is, I made a short about that the other day that I have to remind myself when I was in the throes of my anxiety and panic attacks. My psychiatrist was working through that stuff with me and just reminding me that your body's very confused and having its natural reaction. Your brain is not doing that with you and for you. So you need to figure out how to stop that. And that's the quickest thing to do. It's so easy to do, but so easy to forget to do that too. And just stop, breathe, and just start to relax yourself and realize there's no fucking dinosaur trying to break into your cave to steal all of your food and kill your village.
Yeah, I've talked about this too. Samskaras, these are the things that we identify with. And these are often where we get snagged, where points of contention or feelings come up, when our identity is challenged or things that we've identified with either change, we have to process that. We create the turbulence in our life that
Absolutely.
we deal with. And so like when I say breathe, it's not just a metaphor, you are physically throwing yourself into a river of turbulence. And the first thing you're just kicking in whenever that rapid comes in and that's overwhelming emotion and you're kicking and screaming and gasping, breathe. Get that head up and breathe.
And then another thing with that is to take your brain out of what it's in right now. And the only thing you should do is focus on your breath.
Yep.
And that's it. I mean, because I could breathe all I want, but my brain is still going 1,000 miles an hour and the whole circus is going on in my head. I'm still breathing, but I haven't taken my focus away from all the shit that's going on in my life and just focused on my taking an inhale and exhaling. And that's the only thing that you focus on for however long you can do it, 5 minutes, 5 seconds, whatever you can do.
Yeah. And again, people think, you just, breathe your way out of it. It's a physiological reaction to it. And they taught us that in the military. Before we'd disembark helicopters, we'd do box breathing.
Man.
Just sit in there. It's something you can do just quietly. Shit, drone almost.
You almost took that drone to the head.
We were at...
But yeah, real quick, Patrick, sorry. If you go out on the internet and look at exercises for box breathing or breathing techniques. There's a ton of stuff out there. And if you practice that stuff for 60 seconds, you'll notice it's like taking a little puff of the devil's lettuce sometimes.
Well, it does create the physiological change.
Yeah.
And that's a hard one because I was at Costco the other day with the family and
Costco during the holiday? Are you insane?
Yeah, right. Living, just playing with fire at that point.
Yeah.
Well, that's all your fault now.
Oh, I didn't choose to go, but that's for another story. But I was there, and that's where I was, and my son was having a hard time and having an absolute like meltdown in the line, and I'm there, and I'm like, I usually choose not to go to Costco because that's just not my jam. Mm-hmm. But I was there, and even in that situation, I'm like, I appreciate the compliment earlier about dealing with my kids, but a lot of it is like I was there, and I'm just like, he's freaking out. There's like hundreds of people around, like just boxes. I'm like, I don't know what to fucking do. Like, what the fuck are we? I'm like, I can be like, stop, and just like, trying to escalate it anymore. But at a certain point, I was just like, just breathe, like I grabbed his hands. I'm like, just look at me and breathe. And he's like, I can't do this, and he just like loses his shit even more. And I finally got through to him, like, just breathe. And like we finally got through a couple breathing exercises, just in and out. And like this guy came by and he was like in his little rascal and the family. They're like, wow, you're amazing with him. And I'm like, bitch, I am holding on for dear life here.
I may be telling him breathe, but I'm breathing too.
I was like, this is more for me, not him.
Sorry, Patrick, I don't mean to laugh. I laugh because I know Flynn. So I can just, I see where he's going with this.
He just doubles down on, like, he's a chip off the old block, man. Like, if it's, like, I can see the passion and him living in that moment. Like, I don't want to fucking do this, and just having that just rocket take off and escalate.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like
0 to 60 in seconds.
All he wants to do is be sitting at home on the carpet, putting Legos together.
Right.
I want to acknowledge, Fem, sorry for your loss with your pooch. That sucks. We've gone through that a couple times. I know it doesn't help, but
I'm so sorry.
Every time we adopt a new dog or rescue one, we always enjoy them while they're here, knowing that I'm not helping the situation. Sorry, Fem. Sorry for your loss, but
they're for family. I mean, that's hard.
Oh, cat.
Yeah, cat. We lost our cat 2 weeks ago.
Oh man,
He was an old guy. He's probably like 17 or 18.
That's an old cat.
So,
Well, they're no longer in pain anymore.
right.
Yeah.
I don't know if that doesn't really help, but
I mean, this is the, these are difficult to talk about, but this is the items that we need for our coping mechanisms. Like, sometimes just being able to, here's another good one of finding a space to just like say it. And it sucks because like to show up and say like, hey, John, Judy, I remember when we lost my brother's dog over the summer, because that was a little bit different circumstances and it was a little traumatic, like you can't, I know you guys can't fix that situation. And I'm not like, hey, John, can you come reanimate my brother's dog that was part of our family too? It's, what I'm trying to say, the coping mechanism here is talk therapy, like being able to talk it out, because whatever you're playing in your mind, you have it framed in such a way that like once you give it the light of day and speak it, maybe there's some absurdity to it, or maybe it just needed to be released. And understanding the reality of what comes out.
Yeah,
just don't carry it with you and play it back and play it back and play it back and play it back.
Yeah, we did the same thing when we had to put Penny down. We were doing this show, and we actually did an episode, just a quick little brief episode to come on, talk about it, and then that was it. And that seemed to help a lot.
Yeah.
So you're right. Another coping mechanism is to be in a safe environment, to be able to express those things and kind of
And
get
the
them
talk.
out. And,
We've said that a lot, but even Fem said, when she's dealing with anxiety and depression, gets the best. So she has to be aware that there are other things to cope. That's with depression. I've talked about that a lot. That's the tough one because you don't want to do anything. Your brain is just like, just lay here. Don't just rot away. Don't even start to move or breathe. But if you can sit up and just start to talk, it's a physiological thing, and it like starts to slowly chip away a little bit of that. And that is whether you're talking to one of your animals. Nessa has been my talk therapy dog for years. In fact, she was walking through the hall the other day and I heard her vocalize. She goes, "Father, all you do is take from me. You never give back." I was like, "What the fuck, Nessa? I give you a place to live. I feed you." She's like, You've dumped so much shit on me. How am I supposed to manage this?" Okay.
I mean, so I think that's important early, and we've talked about the importance of community, stuff like Alcoholics Anonymous or AA or any other community you can get to, because I talked about not having the light of day in between the feelings and the coping mechanism, right? Those are places, and the difficult journey, once you get to this too shall pass, is the other part of our growth is like learning to put words and thoughts to it, because we have avoided we have spent a lifetime avoiding this, and we don't know how to articulate these feelings, and we don't know how to construct strategies around them when we can't even fucking describe what's going on with ourselves to begin with. So finding this safe spaces to like know and trust, and just being able to like, you have to show up and be awkward and work stuff out, but knowing that they have your back in the long run is great, because like, you need that space just to like, I'm sorry, to thrash and to fail, at like describing it or like trying to get to that. Like, that's where you can begin to like, just give yourself the time that you had never done before to get to those points and learn. So that's why I think in learning from others, that's why I think the importance of just talking and learning from others. Like, I don't know how many times either like in coaching or therapy or like even listening to AA talks, you show up and you're like, woe is me. I'm fucked. I'm so fucking confused. This is, I'm so uniquely broken. And you show up and somebody shares like a similar experience and you're like, well, fuck. Like I haven't tried that yet, or like I can see some parallels there. Maybe this, maybe that, it generates some thoughts or some different perspectives to reflect on, your
also,
strategies and stuff.
It helps to know that you're not the only one.
So
You've got, a whole group of people who are just as broken, if not more than you are. So you don't feel like you're solo struggling here.
Right.
And so remember, that was the foundation of why we started this whole project.
Yeah.
Because I get a lot from that too, Patrick. I didn't realize it until I went to an AA meeting. That was just sometimes sitting back and just listening. And I thought, man, if we could start to just talk about our experiences, if we could help one person, turns out we've helped hundreds. We get a bunch of good feedback. Just to be able to sit there and listen to someone talk about. And that's a lot of my revelations too, Patrick. That helps me when I have a depressive episode. This is going to sound strange, but let me try and articulate this gently. When I realize that John isn't the only person on this planet that's depressed. When I think, then I can, when I realize there's other people that are going through this, maybe not to my extent, or maybe even worse. It makes me feel a little bit better, not because anyone is suffering, but because I realize that I'm not broken. That there's something a little bit miswired in my mind, and I'm not going through it alone. So it feels a little bit of a relief. Then coupled with, it's gonna pass. Whatever's happening in my life right now, I'm gonna get out on the other side of it. I have good days. I have a lot of good days versus the few bad ones that I have now versus when I was in between drinking.
I think that's another great coping mechanism. I know this is a cornerstone of AA is, you can breathe, you can raise awareness, you can find your safe spaces. But, sometimes if you get stuck, return to service is a wonderful coping mechanism. Like just, being able to be of service to others.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to say in a selfish regard here, but if you've come along your journey enough and knowing how to be present and to connect with empathy to people, they're often, that maybe that is a good roadblock remover, because that provides a different perspective on things for you. It gets you out of your own ruts.
Help somebody else who's struggling.
Right.
Yeah. I also, we don't talk about any kind of religious affiliation with any kind of religion. We kind of hit them all while we're here. But that is another avenue for people who are religious, who have those things available to them, and utilize them, is to look to their spiritual
higher power.
Yeah.
Chant.
Look to the universe.
Chant,
pray, chant, meditate, light a candle, whatever you do to reach out to your higher power or the universe or whatever. That also is a good coping mechanism.
Yep. I'll be very clear. We've also talked about this. Is just, for me, spirituality and religion are two different
things.
concepts.
Yes.
But for a lot of people, they are very intersecting areas. And if they are for you, then great. That's a pillar to lean into, like you said.
I'm more along your line. I'm more of a spiritualist. But I've been a Buddhist. I've been a pagan. I've been a Wiccan. I've gone to church. I've reached out to those different modalities, and you have to find whatever works. But reaching out to any kind of higher power or spirituality does help as well. It's another coping mechanism to reach out, instead of reaching out to your fellow man. Another way to reach out for help.
And I think you hit on you dropped one of my favorite words for us finding our paths here, is just the modality period. That in itself is a coping mechanism, finding your modality, meaning like once we begin to formulate and find words and like feelings to what we're actually feeling and trying to get through that. And when you talk about developing your strategy, now you're going to sit here and you're like, well, now I'm fucking pissed off, but I've never learned how to deal with this in a healthy way. What the fuck do I do now? I'm scared.
Right.
Because, inside you can feel that turn to booze, because you're like, well, it's not great, but I know the outcome of it, and a known outcome is where I like to be.
Numb.
And now you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. And if you can grant yourself the grace to knowing that sucking at something is the first step to getting good at something, holy shit. I mean, variety is the spice of life. World is your oyster, whatever the fuck you want to say. But going on that journey to be I spent myself focused on one coping mechanism when I could be living life experiencing all the other coping mechanisms.
Yeah. And there's a
available.
plethora out there. I mean, there's not, it's not restricted. If your brain is not restricted, the modalities are not restricted.
Yeah. That was deep, babe. Gave me pause. Well, all joking aside, like Fem said, religion included for her, what works. There's still, I think as humanity progresses, I don't know, there's such a, I'm gonna go off on a tangent. Brace yourself, Patrick. That we can believe in multiple things at once.
Yeah, we can walk and chew gum. Yes.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
we should be able to, but there's so much thought out there that is very binary, and that is nope, fuck no. It's either
this way or
it's either
you're
the
going
right
to hell.
wing or the left wing, and that's just the way it's gonna be. Or I'm either 100% fire and brimstone, believe in God and everything, or I'm not. I don't.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we get trapped in that focus and it limits us to stuff. You know, there's nothing, if you're in a world of hurt, if you want to hear someone talk or whatever, go to church, go check it out. It doesn't mean all of a sudden now you're whatever. You don't have to put a label on yourself.
You're Christian or Catholic or Lutheran or.
And I have to remind myself of that stuff too. And that is, I'm talking to myself. Don't be so damn binary, black and white, yes or no about things.
So this is leading to one of my other favorite coping mechanisms: let go.
Yeah.
Release the fucking grip. Meaning,
that's a tough one.
You're saying, you're talking about samskaras. And what I'm trying to say is, like, our minds are prediction modeling machines, right? People don't really want to be happy. They just want to feel less pain. And we've talked about that. That's our evolutionary drive. And known outcomes are great because we can predict the outcome. Good, bad, or indifferent. It may not be great, but it's a known outcome. What's scarier is the unknown, and is that we might get more hurt from it. So we'll choose a lesser pain, right? So we begin to build these models in our mind. You're not a man unless you do X, Y, and Z, right? We begin to build labels and tag identities to it. Like this is a known functioning happy relationship. This is what it looks like. This is, like set in stone. And when something challenges that upsets us. When something challenges your known prediction modeling, you're going to be like, well, no, that's not fucking right. That doesn't match my program. And you're going to be upset about it. And, that's where the discomfort comes in. You're like, well, if that's true, then I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, then I'm invalid. And if I'm invalid, I'm not worth anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's our core. Like, my job is to survive. And if you're telling me my way of surviving is wrong, I'm fucked. The brain's like, well, there's fucking something going on here, and I can't process this. And this is where our coping behaviors come into. And this is one of the best ones. Let it fucking go.
Yeah.
Like, whatever you thought was going to happen, life is what happens when you're busy making plans. It's unfolding in front of you, whether you like it or not. And I've also talked about this. I'm sorry, but the universe doesn't give a shit about you.
Right.
Everything's going to unfold in front of you, regardless if you're there or not.
Yep.
You just have an option to choose to be present.
Yeah.
Or you have an option to choose to fight it. And if you choose to fight it, you're going to be struggling and creating more pain for yourself. And of course, you're going to want to numb that pain.
So, Patrick, how do we start to let go? That's a tough one. I've worked on that for many, many years.
I got something. Don't put expectations on things. That helps me. Is to try not to put.
Here it comes,
I'm not
Judy.
saying
This
that I do
this is
it.
how our argument started yesterday. She's like, don't.
No, that was not why I said that. And I'm not the best at it. I've fully put expectations on things, expecting them to turn out the way that I think they're going to turn out, and they don't.
I know, but those are things that are easier said than done too.
They are
really
easier
tough.
said than done. I didn't say it was going to be easy. I just said it was going to be worth it.
We've talked about many items to help combat this. Ted Lasso says, be curious.
Yeah.
Bob Ross says, what a happy little tree.
Yeah.
If you can happy little tree anything that pops up in your life, I mean, it's not, letting go is a hard concept, because in our mind we think, oh, I just release and I'm good. But in fact, it's another set of muscles that you have to train, because our intrinsic attitude or demeanor is to create those modeling machines in our head. We're ravenous for this information. We're a computer. It says like, all right, if this isn't working, then give me this piece of information. If this piece of information, like, it's always looking to make these rules. It's always looking to make the rules. And it tries to break rules by making more rules. What I'm trying to say is, when you have to learn to let go, if you can literally walk up to any situation and say, oh, that's a happy little tree. Any situation. That's very Buddhist or whatever, like in some respects. But they're truly, and I get, like, if you could think the worst horrors of man, you know, like that's pretty bad shit. But ultimately, like, if you could find a way to get there, I don't think I could personally get there. You know, this is me dropping expectations in my mind now, but that's a very extreme circumstance. This is also like loving kindness meditation. You start with yourself and work outward, right? If you can, of course, you can happy little tree like a moment like this. Hey, we're in the basement and we got the candles and we're just talking about our emotions in safe space. But if you could happy little tree being like at the grocery store and, you know, either having a panic attack, or me, you know, my son is like, oh, my son's now throwing
a major fit.
Yeah, he's throwing a major fit. Now he's throwing, you know, glass olives, you know, everywhere and destroying stuff. Like, oh, you know, I'm not trying to say like I ignore it and say like this is the happy little tree. The other question is, what is this event here to present to me? You know, that is not diminishing. Happy little treeing everything is not saying downward dog everything, and it's not trying to say like, oh, we're just gonna be happy about this. I'm not saying happy. How is this event here how is it being presented to me? What attachments do I have? Why am I angry over this event? You know, and I hate to say this, and I don't want to come at you wrong in this, but you shared a very strong one earlier about your mother. And that was a very strong sense of your identity growing up. And I could hear it in your voice. And to some regards, know that I am thankful for that. Not because it was a shitty situation, but because it helped create the man sitting in front of me today.
Yeah, I'm grateful that you're actually able to talk about it now.
You know, the compassion that you grew for yourself from that, I don't think anybody else could have gifted to you. I mean, maybe in another way, but it is yours. And I'm proud of you for that, you know. And that's why we wrestle inside. It's like, you know, you don't want to diminish that or dismiss it, nor do you want to like open it up with full arms and be like, oh, I love that moment. You know what? Still fuck that moment, right? But it's still part of John. And that's important.
Yeah.
I think one of the sayings, the Buddhist sayings that I like, through great suffering comes great wisdom. And I think that's a really good saying, but only if you're open to it, like open to grow from it.
Yes.
Which that situation for you, you're still working on it, but you're open to growing from that situation. And I think that's pretty awesome.
And I think growing from it is part of letting it go, John. You know, when we hold on to that piece so hard, you know, you want to hold on to it and be like, fuck my mom, fuck whatever she did for fucking me up. And you can hold on to that single one sentiment. And you know what? It ain't gonna do fucking shit for you. But knowing, like, say, you know what? When you said it there, like, I felt it, you know? I knew that the only person looking out for me was me.
Yeah.
And I watched you emotionally leave my side that day, knowing that I couldn't depend on you. And I am thankful for that, because if you were in my life any more than that, you know, I couldn't even imagine where I'd be. That type of thing. Or, you know, like, it helped me also realize that I didn't want to be that fucking person.
Right.
Yeah, that's a
sure.
good one right there.
You showed me that.
You showed me what I do not want to be like.
You showed me that side, and I didn't have to go down that path myself. So thank you for showing me that.
That takes work.
It does.
Yeah.
It's a muscle to let go. And this is the spaces that we're talking about. This is us coping with that, processing that. This is what we are talking about now. This is the letting go, is the, you know, going from the grieving process. You know, like you're so at first, the body, it's an appropriate reaction to be fucking angry, right? She doesn't see me. She doesn't care about me. Fuck that. But then you have to go through the bargaining and, you know, all the other stages of grieving.
Until you get to the acceptance.
The identity of my mom as a caring person is dead. And I have to grieve that. You know, the identity that I had of a family is dead. And I have to grieve that. These are the coping mechanisms that we are talking about, that we have to process this shit.
That's a biggie.
That's a big one.
That's massive.
Yeah.
And I am sitting here, and I'm not trying to give lip service to be like, you know, we're all hugs and I'm proud of you, John. John, I am, from the bottom of my heart, I am so proud of you to show that growth, to walk through that, because it's never too late to process some of that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a biggie.
I'm not going to cry.
Well, I'll cry.
Crying
I'll
is
do it for you.
another coping mechanism.
It is. Okay. So those are some pretty deep discussions about coping. How do we do it on a more superfluous level? I'll start.
Be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
And be patient with yourself.
I work on that a lot. We all three of us do. I know that. That takes practice. It's taken a lot of practice for me, but
Breathing.
I reward myself by allowing myself to be curious. I don't limit myself with intrigue. Sorry. Since I've been sober, this is a new thought process that has bloomed within me. So it's nice. You know, like I started playing the drums a few months ago. Something I've always wanted to do. And I've caught myself with, you know, I wish I could do that. There's this weird little chatterbox that gets compartmentalized. And it's like, oh, I've always wanted to, but I don't deserve it. I'm not worth. I'm too old. I'm not. I can't. This, whatever. Then something in the last year or so is just like it takes a hammer to that box. It's like, hey, fuck you, man. What are you doing? You totally can. And then I'm like, oh, I can. No, there's nothing holding me back. I've talked to Judy many times about things like that, and that is that I developed a pretty unhealthy behavior in probably the last 10 years of heavy drinking. And we've talked about it before, and that is, you know, a lot of stuff that we couldn't do was based around the fact that, well, I'm not going to dedicate the time to it because I'll be drinking too much. I'll be spending a lot of my time in an inebriated state or nursing a hangover somehow. And that is, I can't do this or I can't do that because it's not going to fit into my drinking schedule. I never vocalized that, and Judy never did either. But those are wildly unhealthy thought processes of an alcoholic too.
I think those are thought processes of a normal person, John. Like, give yourself some credit here. And this is one of the best. You're getting to one of my other favorites. You know, that's Mr. Rogers. This shit. Yeah. We have spent decades when we build that. When ego builds rules in your head to follow everything. Like, it's just trying to keep you safe, man. Right? Like, hot pan, don't touch it, you know, because last time I got burnt. So hot pan, I'm trying to keep you safe, buddy. Don't touch. That's a very simple one. But then it begins to construct all these other things. Like I said, the prediction modeling machine. And they're usually built around limits and constraints. Don't do this. You can't do this. This should be this. You start shooting all over yourself. It is a model based on limitation and constraints. And the voice that comes out of that, what does that sound like? It's a Debbie Downer. Don't do that. You can't do that. That sucks. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. It's just that, you know, whatever.
That's because there's a possibility of failure.
Yes.
And failure hurts. And you don't want to hurt. So hence,
right.
Don't do it.
So he's very, very insistent. And I think it's one of our first chatterboxes that gets developed that has, you know, we talked about trying to find space to articulate our feelings and then grow that inner validation. That rule maker, that ego, that doubter, the imposter, those are the ones that get some of the the biggest vocabulary first, because we're just finding out the rules of the world and how to comply. And so we build this dictionary in our head, or compendium, don't do this. If I'm in X situation, then you should do this, right? Starts building all these formulas, and the voice that it gets is always like, no, limit. We have to take time, and that gets built easily from the outside in world influences. We have to take time to grow our voice, and to be kind to ourselves, to show up, to be, hey, I'm proud of you for smashing that bag of Reese's today. Right? Because how easy is it to say like, oh, you're such a piece of shit. You decided to lay in bed and just eat a whole bunch of garbage candy, and now look what you did to yourself. Instead of the voice that shows up and says like, hey, I know you're really dealing with anxiety, and I know you don't have words for it, and you just wanted to drink, and you just turned to those Reese's, and I'm proud of you. And it sounds cheesy, and we want to laugh at this, and I always like, I almost kind of still get upset, like why people think that dialogue is a joke, but it just also reflects on like how little that type of dialogue has grown in our society for self-validation. Mm-hmm. Like it is so small, like it's absurd hearing it. Yeah. So be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
It's not just a statement of like an affirmation just to be like, okay, I'm kind. No, like in your head, that person, wherever that dialogue is coming from, the angle of the tone will set that from the very beginning. So if you're coming at yourself with criticism always, you're going to respond shirking and like pulling away and not wanting to do stuff. If you grow with like, well, hey, you know what? I haven't played drums, maybe I would like to go try, or like, I'd like to try and do this, when you start removing, it's one of those stupid adages, whether you believe you can or can't, it's true.
Mm-hmm.
Schrodinger's cat.
Right? It's
yeah, I think nurturing the creative part of yourself is a good one.
And it starts with that inner dialogue of just knowing the words. We talked about the importance of words when they come out of our mouth, shaping around, environment around others. So too are the words inside your head. And think about that. Those shape nearly many of our fundamental actions. Mm-hmm. So raising awareness and like trying to, and like, this is like I said, at first when I was given this thought, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And when anger arises, I'd be like, fuck you, anger, get the fuck out of here. You're a fucking piece of shit. Why do you need to be fucking, you can't hit anger with anger, right? It's not going to work. And so that's what all the steps that we talk about coping, and be like, all right, so what are you angry about? And, like, what is this moment here to teach me? Mm-hmm. Thank you, anger, for showing up to like raise attention to something that I couldn't see before, right? It's holding these items in a different light from the very beginning in your head.
Yeah. For me, also is the self-critic. Like if you're looking in a mirror at yourself, that self-critic comes into play. Yep. That voice gets really loud. And I have to do like what you did. Thank you for your opinion, but please go sit over in the corner. I don't have time for you right now. Yep. And then to turn all that stuff, to try and turn it to a positive. It's not easy. And especially when you're looking in the mirror, it's not easy to turn all of those things into a positive. Especially when you've had that negative voice in your head for so long. But I just keep trying every time I look in the mirror to turn all those things. Every single time I look in the mirror, not just for one day or just once a week or once a month or whatever. It's every time I look in that mirror and I start to hear that ticker tape going off in my head of, oh my God, look at you. You're so fat, or you're so old, or whatever it is. You had that bump on your nose or whatever. To turn it on. Thank you so much for your opinion, but please go away. And to start noticing or trying to notice the things that I like instead of the things that I don't like. And it's not easy, but it does get easier the more you do it.
Here's another coping mechanism. Continue to show up. Meaning,
Yeah.
grant yourself the grace to know that you may have an epiphany or a realization, but your behavior is not going to change overnight.
It
And
took you this long to get this way. It's
Right.
going to take you a little while
Yeah.
to get the other way.
but just showing up is sometimes the victory, right? And I would challenge those. That's a good exercise, like you said, Judy. If for those listening, I will challenge you to look in the mirror and say, "I love you, just the way you are."
that's
And if you're laughing or you feel you can't do it, and then do it the next day. And I'm not saying like you have to sincerely mean it the first time. And the first time may make you laugh and cringe and feel awkward. You're like, this is stupid. You immediately pull away from it. Just grant yourself the grace to show up every day. You know what? Sucking at something is the first step to getting good at something. And you know what? That I guarantee you will remember the day when you look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love you just the way you are. And you feel that in your soul. I guarantee you will remember that day. But know that it is not a flash in the pan. It is not an overnight thing.
But it gets easier. The more you do it, the more you do it, the more you do it, the easier it gets.
Yeah.
I remember somebody saying something about a task. It's like, actually learning this is pretty easy. It's, doing the thing is easy. It's showing up every day for it. That's the hard part.
Always
Wow.
something to ponder.
Yeah.
All right, now, so you got your fam. Get out of here.
Go on, Puka.
Okay. We are at time. Man, this has been a fantastic discussion, you guys.
Yeah, this has been a good one. This has been another one of those. Well, we could have just kept talking.
Yeah. Oh, shit, here comes Ozzy.
Yep.
Oh,
They're
God. Well,
letting us know.
The dogs are letting us know that it's time to go.
Okay. We're gonna wrap it up. I just want to let everyone know that I have a Discord channel that I need to link in the show header of this, so we can start to have some cool discussions in there. And there's also a sub channel in there to where we are looking for always looking for guests to join. We have. Sorry, now I'm super distracted. Ozzy, Nessa, come on.
Lie down.
All right. Anyway, I'll post a Discord. Yeah. New intro, new Discord. You got it, Odie.
For me.
Okay. We need to talk about
Leave her be.
Ozzy.
Hey. That's enough. Children.
Say it with me, Ozzy. Breathe, breathe, breathe.
Ozzy, come here. Get out of here.
Go lie down.
All right.
Both of you.
Let's wrap it up. You guys fucked it all up. I knew this was a mistake.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Yep. All right. We need to talk about our show for next week, but I need
can
to.
let 'em
We need to circle back, Patrick. The CTE one from your brother, and then the topic about Odie's discussion. I need to dig into that a little bit more. So I think we'll come up with a more lighthearted discussion for next week. So we'll talk about it. But yeah, good talk. And we still need to get official word on our special guest that we're going to have in January.
Yep.
So
That's on me.
okay. Well, yes, it is. All right, everyone. We're gonna wrap
Wait.
it.
Before Odie says how to cope, get pets.
Yeah.
That is another very good coping mechanism. They do bring you out of your funk really quick.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you so much for the contributions. Fim, I know you're late, but thank you for joining. It's important for you.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you,
for you
Mom.
to be on the show.
Thank you,
all of
everybody
you.
who showed up.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to roll the intro because Fim did not see it. But, absolutely. She's curious. Oh, about the special guest. All right. Well, we'll figure it out. Okay. All right. We will talk to you all next time. Have a fantastic
We'll
rest
see you
of your
next
week.
year.
Yeah. See you next year. Yeah. Thanks, babe.
Yeah.
Be kind to yourselves,
Be patient with yourself. You are worth it.
and you are loved. Talk to you later. Bye. All right, that was it. You saw it, fam. There was the intro. I rolled it outro for you, but there you go. All right, bye, y'all.